Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start today's video with a story about mistaken identity with a twist. Imagine being approached by a stranger who demands help, confusing you for a store employee. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Was I wrong to react the way I did? So this happened not too long ago, and I'm still shaking my head over this encounter. I'll simplify the cast of characters. Me is me. Rude store customer is a rude store customer. No abbreviations necessary. I know how to copy and paste. For background, I grew up in New York City. We're looked upon as rude, crude, and just overall abrasive. Yet in all my years, if someone mistook me for an employee, reached me as a wrong number, or asked for directions to some place I never heard of, the response was always, "Sorry about that," or "Thanks anyway." Since I moved to New England, it's been just the opposite. I should add that I left New York over 20 years ago. I get a wrong number call, and the caller treats me like it's my fault that he or she called a wrong number. Granted, part of it's that I got a recycled cell number, and I try to be nice about it, but in one instance, the caller asked to speak with John. When I told him that he had the wrong number, his response was, "What do you mean I have the wrong number? I'm his cousin." I'm not always snappy on the comebacks, but I told this guy that being John's cousin didn't change the fact that he had a wrong number. Another time, I was visiting my mother-in-law's house and shoveling her driveway when a car pulled up and asked me where XYZ was. Now, I don't live in her town, so I basically only knew the road from my house to hers, so I told the guy I never heard of the place and I didn't know where it was. He got a bit belligerent and repeated that he was asking about XYZ. I interrupted to say I heard him the first time and that A, I still didn't know where XYZ was, and B, arguing with me is not going to change that. Boy, did his window roll up fast, and he peeled out of there. All right, so there's still some Brooklyn in me that won't take crap from anyone. So this leads to my IDWHL moment. I was at Staples shopping for ink cartridges for my printer along with other assorted stationery. Keep in mind that the staff at the Staples were wearing red polo shirts with the Staples logo on it and khaki pants. In contrast, I was wearing a plain black polo shirt and torn jeans. So there I am, pushing my wagon, looking nothing like an employee, when a man who looked to be in his mid-30s approached me and asked, "Excuse me, where are your fountain pens?" So far, no rudeness. My response was to tell him, "I don't know, I don't work here." The man transforms to rude store customer when he rolled his eyes at me. Now, I could have let it drop there and continued on my merry way, but like I said earlier, people who did similar things to me apologized for the mistake and moved on. I was not going to let this guy get away without some sense of basic etiquette and immediately said to him, "Excuse me, is there some sort of problem?" Rude store customer, "Yes, you won't help me." Me, "That's because I don't work here. If you need help, ask an employee. I'm just a customer like you." Rude store customer, "Then you shouldn't be dressing up like an employee." Me, "Okay, first off, I'm not dressed anything like an employee. Do employees wear torn jeans? And second, you're the one who made a mistake, not me, so don't try blaming me for your error." Rude store customer continues to double down. "Well, why should you wear a polo shirt into a place of business?" Me, "Seriously? Is there a law that says when you're wearing a polo shirt, no matter what color, that you're an employee of wherever you shop? Or are you one of those people who can't admit when you make a mistake? You do realize that the more you double down, the stupider it makes you look." Rude store customer opened his mouth, closed it again, then turned around and walked away. I had one more thing to say. "Yeah, and no apology." Figures. Rude store customer stopped, turned around, and yelled, "I'm sorry." Satisfied? Me, "Thank you. If you would have said that the first time I told you that I didn't work here, we wouldn't have had to have this conversation." And I made my way to the cashier to pay my bill. I've come to the realization that people don't ask strangers for help anymore, they just expect it. It's all in the phrasing. When I was younger, people would start a question with, "Excuse me, can you tell me where?" If you could help, you'd get a thank you. If not, you'd at least get a thank you anyway response. Nowadays, the phrasing is, "Excuse me, where is?" And if you say you don't know, thank you anyways become thanks for nothing. Well, I had to get that off my chest. Rant over. So true. And well done for calling him out on it. It's like saying sorry's becoming meaningless now, too. Either it's a sorry spat out like you had, or it's a sorry but, which goes on to negate the apology. And our second story. HOA act like shady jerks, and mom wins via democracy. Obligatory, not me, but my best friend. My best friend Stu grew up in suburban Arizona. His family owned their home and rarely had problems with their HOA other than it being generally fascist. It all started with some cardboard boxes. Stu and his sister, at the ripe old age of around 6 or 7, wanted to make a fort in their front yard. Their dad, being the great guy he was, helped them build a crappy cardboard box fort for them to play in. Being kids, they played in the fort for a couple hours and proceeded to get distracted elsewhere. Not a day later, they received posted notices on the door and phone calls informing them they needed to clean the unsightly garbage out of their yard or be faced with fines. It wasn't a huge deal, but left the family a bit jaded towards the HOA. Fast forward a handful of years later, Stu's dad decides he wants to paint the house. Now, if you don't know, most HOAs have strict rules on the color and send templates for you to pick off of. He said the templates range from tan to slightly different tan. Stu's dad finds a color he likes that's more of a greenish tan and sends it, paints the whole house. The HOA proceeds to have a meltdown because they painted their house outside of the allowed color spectrum. Stu's dad says, "No effing way, it's basically the same color. I'm not repainting my entire house." So the HOA hires a contractor to come down with a paint color tester and post notices on their door with a detailed analysis of how his color is yucatan and doesn't fit the spectrum, and if they don't repaint by the end of the month, they'll be fined. Instead of folding, Stu's mom finds out when the next meeting is and discovers no one votes. The same dude has been president of the HOA for way too long, and there's some shady crap going on in terms of contracting. So she walks around the neighborhood the next few weeks, campaigning, and runs. She wins by a landslide, largest turnout for an HOA meeting since its inception. Apparently, everyone was also sick and tired of the bullcrap, but just bent over. So Stu's mom's elected president and discovers that the previous regime was doing the old hook up my son-in-law by contracting his company and pay him stupid amounts of money to water the sand wash bullcrap. She quickly ends all that crap. Rather than change any rules other than a few stupid ones, the Stu family office just decided to refuse to enforce any of them. Stu's mom goes years as president. Recently, she decided F it, didn't show up to the election and someone else got elected. Now the new guy's trying to enforce the old rules, but everyone's so used to the freedom, there's a effing war going on. And our next story. Deli Manager ignores warning, faces fiery consequences. My background is in CSCI and electronics, but years ago I worked in the deli section of a big chain grocery store. Generally, the staff and management were okay. Most of us even got along pretty well. Our shift manager, SM, was definitely the reactive rather than proactive type, though, i.e., don't lift a finger unless something has gone pretty catastrophically wrong, or God forbid you're late by literally 3 minutes. Like most delis, we had a large glass display case stuffed with meats and cheeses, and at any time, about 1/3 to 1/2 of our inventory is on display. The cases pretty much function like a normal refrigerator, lights, compressors, some piping, and a radiator. Oh, and a few wires to connect it all together. One day, when I'm near the end of one of the cases, I noticed the faint smell of melting, burning plastic. Not the first time. The cheese wrapping station has a heated hair curler-like element to allow you to easily cut plastic wrap, which smells a bit, but this is different. After investigating for a few minutes, I realized it's coming from inside the paneled-off section of the case, as the smell is much stronger there. It's strong enough for me to recognize as burning insulation. It's a pretty specific smell, as anyone who has had to fix home electronics with a soldering iron can attest. I unplug the case, open up the access panel, and have a look around. Nothing's actually melted, but it seems like one of the screws connecting part of the wiring's come loose, and the point of contact is so small, it's increased resistance in the circuit to the point that the insulation started getting hot, hence the smell. I go to look for a screwdriver, but run into SM on the way, so I figure I'll notify him. I was young and stupid, what can I say? Me. Hey SM, the insulation in the far case smells like it's melting. Loose screw, gonna fix it as soon as I find a screwdriver. SM, what? Don't touch anything, show me the problem. Me. Okay. I show him the case with the removed access panel. SM, why'd you take the panel off? Me. I was looking for the source of the burning insulation smell. SM, you can't just take apart company equipment whenever you feel like it. It's probably just from the cheese wrapper. Me, pondering how to politely tell him to stick his damn face in the case and smell the glistening, semi-melted bit of insulation on the screw. SM, close this up and turn the case back on. We can't let the temp in the case rise or we'll have to dump the inventory. Me, it's gonna start on fire eventually if you just plug it back in. SM, I'll make one of the facilities people look at it. Me, no he won't. Me, look, all we need to do is tighten the damn screw. The case isn't plugged in, so there's nothing from the liability aspect for you to worry about, and it's not like I can damage the case by tightening a screw that's clearly come out of the mounting. SM, no, you're not allowed to touch this case unless it's to put the panel back on, plug it in, or take product out. I decided to let stupidity run its course. This problem is literally above my pay grade. Closed it back up, turned it back on, and stayed the hell away from the thing. Even customers started commenting on the smell of burning plastic by the end of my shift. I had a couple days off, but then had a day shift 2 days later. As I walk up to the store, one of the people leaving from the morning shift gives me a sympathetic look as she drives off. Lo and behold, good chunk of the deli's in disarray with chemical fire extinguisher powder all over the case. Meanwhile, SM was running around ranting about crappy equipment and how could no one have noticed? Couldn't resist crossing the arms and giving him a effing told you so glare before loudly announcing that I'm doing kitchen for the night, i.e. I'm not dealing with this crap. In tally, everything in the cases had to be thrown out, not just the case that was on fire, all of them were contaminated by the extinguisher. And our last story. HOA wants me to sell car. Just moved into a neighborhood that has HOAs. We don't have driveways, but have a 2-car garage, and then here's about 1 million guest parking spots that are always empty. Looks like a ghost town. Anyways, I have 2 cars, and my girlfriend has 1 car. I play my car and my girlfriend's car are both parked in the garage. My Jeep, I park in a guest spot. I got a letter taped to the window of my Jeep saying that the HOA states cars must be parked in the garage, and if not able to, must apply for a parking permit that's good for 1 year, then needs to be applied for again. So I put in an application to get a parking permit for the Jeep, states we have 3 cars and can't fit all in the garage. The HOA lady called me, asked how many drivers we had in the house, and I said it's just my girlfriend and I. She replied, we're denying your application for a parking permit because you don't need 3 cars for 2 people. Gave me a 30-day notice to sell one of the cars or we'll be fined $50 per month, and 2 the Jeep every time it's parked in a guest spot. There's no effing way I'm selling my play car because of some power-hungry bee. There's at least 200 guest parking spots, and I've never seen more than 10 cars parked in them. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.